राधा रानी महारानी की जय। प्रथमं सद्गुरुं वन्दे श्री कृष्णं तदनन्तरं गुरुः पापात्मनां त्राता श्री कृष्णस्त्वमलात्मनाम् जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थे स्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदा य आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकम् नमः कमलनां भाय नमः कमल मालिने नमः कमल पादाय नमस्ते कमलेक्षण यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तग्वं हा देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये. Devotional listeners, now I humbly request your full attention as I continue with the topic of Bhagavad Gita and the lessons we can learn from it. Lessons that we can apply to daily life. In the Bhagavad Gita, we read about Shri Krishna telling Arjun about the mind. Arjun says more than once in the Bhagavad Gita, and right in the beginning, that his mind is very confused. My mind is confused, my mind is reeling. Bhramati vachame manaha. Shri Krishna says, Arjun, you can bring your mind under your control. Arjun says, Maharaj, it seems to be impossible. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi balavadridham tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. My Lord, the mind is very mischievous, chanchalam. It's very unruly. It's very impetuous. It seems to be it is so mischievous that it seems that it would be easier to control the direction of the wind than to control the mind. Vayoriva sudushkuram. But Shri Krishna reassures Arjun, no, you can gain control over your mind. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. Through practice and renunciation, you can control your mind. So the topic of the mind is extremely important for us. Learning about the mind, how the mind works, what's going on in the mind, what's taking place in this inner world of the mind. will help us to control our mind. There is an outer world that we're living in, and then there's the inner world. Philosophers have said that the inner world is ampler, richer, and more complex. The outer world is so vast that it's endless. You cannot count the number of universes in existence. But the inner world is even more vast. The inner world is infinitely more fascinating. It's richer, ampler, and more complex. So what's going on in this mind? The mind which has no form. It doesn't have a form, we can't see the mind. But it is so powerful. It is the only worker that we have. We would be naive to think that our eyes are the ones that see and our ears are the ones that hear, and that our tongue is the one that tastes delicacies. And our nose is the one that smells objects, that has a power of smell. The fact is that the mind does everything. It's the eyes plus the mind. It's then that we are able to see. Ears plus the mind, they allow us to, then we are capable of hearing. It's the tongue plus the mind. It's not just the eyes and ears and the nose and the skin. Skin has a power of touch, but it's skin plus the mind. If the mind is absent, we cannot see, we cannot hear, we cannot taste, touch, or smell anything or anyone. Jagat jitam kena. Who has conquered the world? Adi Shankaracharya poses this question. Jagat jitam kena. And he answers his own question by saying, Mano hi yena. The individual who has conquered his mind has conquered the world. The mind is the most powerful weapon we have. It is the most powerful possession we have. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna tells us a great deal about the mind. That there are many afflictions, many diseases that are afflicting our mind. Many diseases of the mind. We know about the physical diseases. We don't think much about the mental diseases. Diseases of the mind that everybody is suffering from. Anger, greed, hatred, pride, lust, hypocrisy, and there are more. All these are diseases of the mind. And Shri Krishna says that out of all the diseases that the mind is suffering from, there are three main ones. Trividham narakasyedam dwaram nashanam atmana kamah krodhas tatha lobhas tasmade tatrayam tyajet. Kam, krodh, lobh, desire, anger, and greed. These are the three most damaging diseases that afflict the mind. And if someone says, well, can I just focus on 2 instead of 3? Then Shri Krishna says, then focus on Kam and Krodh, desire and anger. Kama esha, Krodha esha, Rajoguna, Samudbhava. Desire and anger. Can I just work on one, my Lord? Shri Krishna says, go ahead. The most powerful, the most damaging disease of the mind is kamana, desire. Desire is the most damaging disease that afflicts the mind. If you think about it, anger and greed come into the mind only because of desire, don't they? When you want something and you get it, you think, I'm satisfied now, I'm good, I'm happy. But right after that, there are more things that you want. We always want more and more. Jo prati labh lobh adhikai. The more we have, the more we want, says the Ramayana. Desires that are fulfilled lead to greed. Desires that are not fulfilled, when we don't get what we want, we become angry. We become frustrated, we become angry. So anger comes about anytime we feel angry. The reason, the root cause of anger is dissatisfaction of desire. That desire may be for a person, an object, or it may be something intangible, such as respect. I don't get the respect that I deserve from you. I'm very angry. When we desire respect, we desire love, and we don't receive it, then we become angry. So that desire may be in any form. But when we don't get what we want, then we become angry. So if we want to gain control of, if we want to get rid of anger, or at least control anger and greed, we will have to control our desires. So Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, they concentrate on desire. They don't speak much about anger or greed. Because if you've taken care of if you chop the tree from the root, then there's no question of leaves and branches and sub-branches and anything else growing on that tree, because you cut down the tree from the root. So the root cause of all mental diseases of the mind, is desire. Yo na kamayate kinchit brahma bhuyaya kalpate. The Vedas say the one who has no more desires, he becomes as great as Brahma. He becomes Brahma himself. In other words, he becomes as great as God. He has no desires. The fact is that as long as we have a mind, we will have desires. And we cannot get rid of desires. It's impossible. We can't set fire to the mind and destroy the mind. The mind is indestructible. So desires will always be there. But we can certainly control them. And we can also divert them towards God. We can take our very worldly and material desires, we can divert them towards God. We cannot destroy them. We can purify them, we can reduce them. They will come to an end only upon God realization. So, desire is the main disease of the inner world of our mind. The Bhagavad Gita is a very short scripture as far as our scriptures go. It's a very short scripture, 18 chapters, and in the 18 chapters there are 700 verses. But Shri Krishna gives an incredible amount of knowledge in brief in the Bhagavad Gita regarding the mind. Shri Krishna tells us what brings about desires, the root cause of desire. Sangat sanjayate kamah, kamat krodho bhijayate. Attachments bring about desires. We all have desires. We all desire different people, different objects. What's at the root of those desires? It is attachment. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. It's not that we always desire something that is good for us. An alcoholic, for instance, desires alcohol. A chain smoker desires cigarettes. Is it because these things, alcohol and cigarettes, are good for health? Surgeon General it always has there's a warning on every cigarette pack that this is injurious, smoking is injurious to your health, but yet so many people smoke. Alcohol does not do anything good to the body, does not do anything good to the mind, but so many people are alcoholics. But why? Simply because they became addicted, attached. And when we talk about people, we desire a person not just because, not necessarily because that person is very good or very beautiful or very, very virtuous or very intelligent. It's just when we become attached to someone, we desire that person. A mother always desires her child. She desires her child more than any other child in the world. Why? Is this child the most well-behaved? No. Is this child the smartest child or very intelligent? No. So if you ask the mother, would you like to trade? No. Attachment leads to desire. There's a very nice story I'd like to share with you regarding Akbar and Birbal. Akbar is the king and Birbal is his minister. So Akbar would give tasks to Birbal, and Birbal, being very witty, he would perform those tasks. He would give answers to sometimes very difficult questions that Akbar would ask him. So Akbar asked him, make a list of all the find out the most beautiful child in my kingdom and bring that child to me. Birbal went looking, and he came upon a beggar, a woman who was begging. And in her lap there was her child, and she was kissing that child, she was caressing her child, she was lavishing her affection on her child, and she was saying, Beta, you are the most beautiful child in the world. The child's got a runny nose, the child has been crying, the child's hair is disheveled, the child's wearing rags, but the mother says, you are the most beautiful child in the world. So Birbal took the mother and child to Akbar and said, Maharaj, this is the most beautiful child in the world, not only in your kingdom, in the whole world. Akbar said, have you gone blind? This is the most beautiful child? Yes, Maharaj. This is what his mother was saying. You are the most beautiful child in the world. Because of her attachment to her child, there is no one better than her child. There's no other child that she desires. So anytime we have a desire, we are desirous of something or someone, it's because we are attached to that person or addicted to that object. There is no other reason. Attachment leads to desire. Sangat sanjayate kama. Now, the next question begs to be asked, and that is, why do we get attached? Why does the mind become attached? Shri Krishna tells us the answer to this question as well by saying, Dhyayato vishayan punsah sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamah kamat krodho vijayate. When the mind thinks repeatedly about a person or an object to be a source of happiness, the mind forms an attachment there. The more you think about something, children think about toys, games, and such. This toy is going to give me happiness. Child is watching TV, let's say, and there's a commercial about a certain toy or a game, and the child thinks, I have to have that. That toy is going to give me so much enjoyment, and the child cannot stop thinking about it. If the mother comes and she understands what's going on, she distracts the child, she takes the child outside and distracts him in many ways, then the child is likely to forget. But if that child keeps watching that commercial again and again, keeps thinking about that toy again and again, then that strong attachment is formed, and there is no way that the child is not going to get that toy. All sorts of temper tantrums will be there, and lots of crying will be there, lots of begging, pleading, everything will be there, because a strong attachment has been formed. And the child is thinking, behind that attachment is the thought, I'm going to get happiness from this toy. Why do we become attached to people? Simply because we think that these people are going to make me happy in life. This individual or that individual, these people, my family members, I'm very attached to them. Why? Because I expect happiness from them. Happiness. So actually it's just one shlok in which Sri Krishna reveals this, the wonderful answer to the question about desires. He says, first, you think about something or someone to be a source of happiness, and you keep thinking again and again, I have to have that thing, I have to have that outfit, I have to have that piece of jewelry, I have to have that boat, I have to have that car. Attachment is formed. And that attachment will not let you rest. I have to have it. I'm going to be so happy once I get it. And our experience, everyone has this experience, that object, that thing that we thought we could not do without, now it's sitting in the closet. It's somewhere, we don't know where it is, because that charm lasted for a little short period of time, or even a long period of time, and then the charm wears off. But then we look for something else to give us happiness, and then something else, and then something else. Same thing about a person. A young man says to the young lady, if you don't marry me, I will kill myself. And she said, oh my goodness, ye to mar jayega. He'll kill himself. I have to marry him. He loves me so much. Fact is that nobody dies for anyone else. But he does think, if she's not in my life, then I'm not going to be happy. Or she thinks, if he's not going to be in my life, I'm not going to be happy. And if someone is committing suicide, it's not for someone else, it's for the sake of happiness. There's no more happiness. There's no happiness in my life without this person, without this individual. So I may as well not live. Nobody dies for anyone. So Shri Krishna says, first you think again and again that someone is going to make you happy, or something is going to make you happy, and then you repeatedly think about this and you form an attachment, and that attachment leads to desire. You start wanting that person, wanting that object, or wanting that something which is intangible. So now the next question begs to be asked, and that is, why are we all looking for happiness? It all starts with that desire for happiness. I want happiness. Why happiness? Why is happiness something that we want? And everybody wants it. We may be so different from one another. Skin color, religion that we follow. Our thoughts are so different. We all have individual thoughts. We all have our particular likes and dislikes. Munde, matir bhinna, tunde, saraswati. Everyone has their own way of thinking. We all have our favorite color. We all think differently. We look different. We all have our different choices. But we are all the same when it comes to desiring happiness. There's no one in the world who says, well, I'm different. I beg to differ. I want misery. I want unhappiness. I want troubles. No one wants that. Why is it that although we are so different, we are all the same in the desire for happiness? And in the Bhagavad Purana, and we cannot talk about the Gita without going to other scriptures, because in the Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna gives little hints, but the elaboration is in the other scriptures. And in this case, in the Bhagavad Mahapuran. The Bhagavatam says, if you say that you want money, that you're crazy about money, you desire money, you don't desire happiness, or if you say that you desire a really good education, you value education the most in your life, or you might say you want a family, a good family, or you say you want friends, and you value friends above all, or you value family above all, then please understand that there's only one thing you really want. You want a family for the sake of happiness. You value friends, you want friends, good friends, because you think that from friends comes happiness. You want money, not so that you could just look at money or put it in the bank. You are thinking that when I spend this money and I get this and I buy this, I'm able to buy all these things, then I will become happy. So happiness is the root cause of your desire for money. You want happiness and therefore you want money. You think money will bring you happiness. You think people will bring you happiness. You think that a good education will bring you happiness. You think objects of luxury will bring you happiness. And that's why you want them. So the root cause of desire is our search for happiness. From the time we are born, we have been looking for happiness since the time we were born. When a child is born, the newborn child, the very first thing that a child does is to utter a cry. You'll say, obviously, yes. When a child cries, then everyone celebrates. And when there's no crying sound, everyone is alarmed. And there is no sound. Even now, there's no sound. And everyone is grieving because it's a stillborn. So the child cries. And it's so sweet that when the Supreme Lord appears on earth in the form of Bhagwan Shri Ram, he performs a same pastime. When he first appears before Kaushalya and Dasharath, he is in the form of Mahavishnu. Kaushalya bows down to him, King Dasharath bows down to him, and they both praise him and they glorify him. And then Kaushalya says, Kije Shishu Leela. He's smiling, Prabhu Musakana. So she says, Kije Shishu Leela. My Lord, I beg you to begin your childhood pastimes. Become a newborn. I do not want you as my father, I want you as my son. So then, Prabhu Musakana, and right after that, Roda Natana. He starts to cry. When Kaushalya begs him to perform his pastimes as a child, he stops smiling and he is no longer Mahavishnu, four-armed Mahavishnu. He becomes a tiny little child, a child who is crying because he's a newborn. When a newborn cries, that child has no other way of expressing his thoughts to the world. He's thinking, what he's expressing through crying, through the act of crying is, I do not want unhappiness that I suffered hanging upside down in a very congested space for so long. For so many months, that child was hanging upside down. There was a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. So the child is saying, I do not want that suffering anymore. I desire happiness. And from that time till the moment when we breathe our last, we are always desirous of happiness. And no matter what we are doing, whether we are eating or not eating, or mutually contradictory actions we are performing, we are laughing or Krishna? Crying. We're standing or sitting. Sitting. We're talking or remaining silent. Like, no matter how contradictory the actions are, we only want happiness from them. We laugh because we want to be happy. We cry also because of the same reason. And that sounds wrong. I'm not crying because I want happiness. Of course. It's for the same reason. We cry for the same reason as we laugh. We want happiness. If we are suffering if there is a person who has suffered so much, who has just had a death of a loved one, there's been a death in the family, then the house caught fire, and then he lost everything in the fire. There's been so many troubles that have come into his life. Now he's wailing, he's crying. And you think, why are you crying? Why are you adding to your suffering? No, I'm trying to get some relief from so many sorrows I have in my life right now through the act of crying. So when we cry, we let go of some of that sorrow we are experiencing. So laughing and crying both are done for the same reason. We want to eat sometimes, and sometimes we push the plate of food away. We do both for the sake of happiness. We talk. We want to be happy, that's why we talk. And at other times we say, please, let's be quiet. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to say anything. I just want to be quiet. Why, you don't want happiness? No, now I want happiness through silence. So everything that we do is for the sake of happiness. All right, now do we stop right there? No, scriptures tell us, find out why you want happiness all the time. Why is it that you don't want anything else? And here we are told that happiness is another name for God. Happiness is a synonym for God. There are so many synonyms for God. Ishwar, Brahma, Paramatma, Bhagwan, Ram, Sham, Allah, Ahur Mazd, Sat Shri Akal, God. We have so many, and so many I've mentioned, and there's countless more. And one of those names is Anand. Anando Brahmeti Vyajanat. Taittiriya Upanishad says, God is happiness. Brahma is Anand. And we are all part and parcel of God. We all belong to God. Ishwar Ansh, Jeev Avinashi, Chetan Amal Sahaj, Sukh Rashi, as the Ramayana says. So we are all part and parcel of God, and God is happiness. And it's a law of nature, it's a law of science also, that every fraction, every part has a natural affinity for its source. There's a source, and something that belongs to the source, it will want to go back to the source. For instance, if you light a fire, flames will rise upwards towards the sun because they belong to the sun. They are part of the sun. If you hold a material object in your hand, anything, a coin, anything, a piece of cloth, whatever it is, and you let go of it, that object will fall towards the earth. You will say that's the law of gravity. Yes, that is the law of gravity. That is that this object belongs to the earth and it gravitates towards the earth. It's attracted towards the earth. It wants to go to the earth. It was not going to the earth when you were holding on to it, but let go of it, it will naturally want to go to its source. All rivers in the world flow towards the ocean without exception, because they are part and parcel of the ocean. So we see this everywhere in nature. Every part has a natural desire for its source and wants to go to its source. So we, the Jivatma, the individual souls, we are part and parcel of Paramatma, the Supreme Soul. Therefore, we want to always go towards God. We have love for God, a natural love for God. We may not realize it, but we have a natural love for God. Not everyone in the world will accept. Not everybody in the world would say, oh yes, I have a natural love for God. But everyone in the world would be willing to say and accept that, yes, I love happiness. I love happiness, but I don't love God. And when enlightened ones, when they hear something like this, they laugh good-naturedly, just like a parent, a mother would laugh, or an adult would laugh, if the child were to say, I love my daddy, but I don't, and you ask, do you love your daddy? Yes, I love my daddy. Of course I love my daddy. Do you love your mommy's husband? No, I don't love my mommy's husband. He doesn't know it's one and the same. Mommy's husband is his daddy, but he doesn't understand that. So mother and father get a chuckle out of that. Look at this, our innocent little child. He says he loves daddy, but he doesn't love mommy's husband. So in the same way as an adult would chuckle at the innocence of a child, enlightened ones, they smile and they chuckle when we say, oh, I love happiness, but I don't love God. Because love and God, or rather, I love happiness, but I don't love God. Of course, love is happiness. Love and happiness both are God. Here we're speaking about happiness. So God is happiness, and this is the reason why we are all searching for happiness all throughout life. Throughout life, we're doing nothing but searching for happiness. I'm not looking for happiness. I'm working. You're working because you want happiness. You ask a small child, do you go to school, beta? Yes, I go to school. Why are you in primary school? Because I want to go to public school. Why do you go to public school? Why do you want to go there? Because one day I want to go to secondary school, high school. Why do you want to go to high school? Because I want to go to university. I want to go to college. Why college? You love studying so much? No, I know that I want to get a good job after I go to university, or I want to get into a good profession. That's why I want to go to university. Okay, why do you want to get a good job? You like working so much? No, then why? I want to get good money. Okay, money. Why do you want money? Because I want to buy a lot of things. Why do you want a lot of things? The child may not be able to say. But if he were able to say, he would say, I want happiness from all those things I want to buy. Because every time I want a toy, and a lot of times my parents say, no, you can't have it. When I get lots of money, I'm going to buy all the toys in the world. Nobody's going to stop me. I'm going to buy everything. They're going to give me happiness. We get an education because we want to be happy. Marriage is for the sake of happiness, but so is divorce. Everything that we do is for the sake of happiness. We are at peace for the sake of happiness. We are at war for the sake of happiness, for the same reason. And that reason behind happiness, desire for happiness, is we are children of God. We are part and parcel of God. And God is happiness. So we cannot help but desire happiness. So now the next question begs to be asked, and that is, how do I find that happiness? Where is that happiness? You might say, well, that's easy. I get happiness from ice cream. When I eat ice cream, I become very happy. When I play with my puppy, I become very happy. I'm very happy. There's so many times, when my child was born, someone may say, when my child was born, that was the happiest moment of my life. So I know I've received happiness. So many times in my life, I have received happiness. Where's that happiness now? It kind of went away. Then I got another happiness. What happened to that? It went away, disappeared. Then I got another happiness in my life. So we've had so many times, there have been so many times in life when we have said, I am happy now. And we sing and we dance and we show our happiness. I am so happy, so happy. But unfortunately, there's always a dark cloud behind that happiness. It overshadows the happiness. Sadness takes over. That happiness goes away. So the thinking individual thinks. The discerning individual, the one who just doesn't go through life and just lets everything happen and doesn't ask questions, but someone who is inquisitive, someone who thinks about life, what life is all about, the purpose of life. That individual starts thinking, where is happiness? How do I find happiness? What will make me happy? Because when we don't find that happiness, we suffer greatly. We suffer mentally, we suffer physically. So much. So God has given us a very advanced mind, a mind that is capable of thinking about abstract. It's able to think abstract thoughts. It's able to think about something more than just food and shelter and such. We're able to think about the purpose of life. What is the reason that I was placed on earth? Where am I going? Where have I come from? What am I looking for? How will I fulfill the mission of my life? And what is the mission of my life? These questions come up and we need answers for that. So what will make me happy? What is the source of happiness? How do I receive happiness? These questions will be taken up tomorrow. बोलिए वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय, श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की जय, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री